Sam Njoku, host of the Ravens Talk podcast. Day one of free agency, and the Ravens have already lost plenty.
Kadri Ismail, Eric DeCosta must be sitting there saying, "Oh my gosh, my cupboard was Maxx, and now it is full of emptiness."
And I'm Kevin Oestreicher, the host of Locked On Ravens. The Ravens, they need to pivot now and pivot fast. And there are still some options on the board, but where do the Ravens go from here? We'll talk about that and a lot more coming up on the Locked On Ravens Squad show.
Rise and shine. It's the Ravens Squad. Everything Baltimore Ravens every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from the heart of Charm City. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Flock together and squad up. The Ravens Squad Show starts now.
What is going on, Ravens flock? Welcome to another episode of the Locked On Ravens Squad Show. Day one of free agency is here, and man, does it feel like the center of it all is smack dab in the middle of the Baltimore Ravens roster, as there have been plenty of moves that have really shaken the foundation of this franchise. We'll talk about Tyler Linderbaum. He gets paid, but he is not a Baltimore Raven. We'll talk about where he goes and what decisions were made to push him away from the AFC North. We'll also talk about the other free agents that the Ravens lost. They lost a plenty of free agents, as you mentioned. We'll talk about each of those guys and what that could mean for the Ravens as well. But not to fret, there was a move made, and it was made before the start of free agency. Maxx Crosby is a Baltimore Raven. He's actually landing in Baltimore now, getting ready to sign that new contract. So the pass rush has been solved, and we'll talk all about what that means for this team moving forward. A big question mark has been alleviated, answer, whatever you want to call it, but pass rush is no longer an issue. What is an issue now is the interior of the offensive line. We talked about what it would mean for this team if they were unable to sign Tyler Linderbaum. Well, the Ravens didn't sign him, and that's because he signs a huge contract worth $27 million a year. Oh, my goodness. I mean, we all thought 25 was a lot. Add a couple more zeros, I guess, to that. $27 million. He goes to the Las Vegas Raiders, highest paid center by a mile, $9 million more than the second highest paid, which is Creed Humphrey of the Kansas City Chiefs. Kevin, when you saw the news and it came fast and furious, what were your initial thoughts about the Tyler Linderbaum signing?
Well, I was very surprised at the money amount. I had kind of maxed it out at like 25. I think that was the number a lot of people were maxing it out at. But seeing him get 27, I'm not surprised he took the deal, and I'm not surprised the Ravens did not match it, as I do not think that they could, even if they wanted to, because look, as we've said, there's a cap for everybody, and Linderbaum is a really good player, one of the best centers in the league. But, you know, at some point, you can't afford to pay a guy that amount of money. And now you do have to reinvest that money back into your team. But it's tough because Linderbaum was your best offensive lineman. He was a leader in that group. And, you know, some of the better options center-wise on the market have already dried up. There are a couple of guys that have gotten released today and over the last couple of days that maybe could be options for you. But, yeah, I mean, I was still, despite the fact that I thought that he was probably leaving after all the stuff that we had heard, I thought, all right, I'm going to hold on to that little bit of hope we have left. And it's time to review our grades, our exercise we did from the other day. And I was the one that had Tyler Linderbaum going, and the two of you had Tyler Linderbaum staying. So put one on the board. I'm not proud of it. I don't want to. I wish it was you two getting the points. But if I'm leaving here, I'm leaving here with something. So put one on the board for me. And I guess, unfortunately, that was one that I got correct. But it's tough to see him go. And, you know, as apparently the rumors and the reports is that the Ravens offered around 4 years, $88 million, which was $22 million per season, still a record-setting deal, but obviously nothing close to what the Raiders were able to give Linderbaum.
We're going to go ahead and give you the dub, and we'll take the L. I think it's not surprising to me, because as much as the off-season speculation, which is why I don't like the off-season speculation because of this, when you have two teams that have cap room and money and they start to get in a back and forth negotiation, I mean, it's like, all right, well, you're going to do something that is going to reset the market. And yeah, the figure of 18 million. Well, it might be 21 million. Oh my goodness, 25 million. Somebody's going to offer him 25 million. No, 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 it can't happen. And then you look at it, 27 million. For Tyler, I think you have to accept that money. You have to accept the deal. You're now the highest paid interior offensive lineman in NFL history. It resets the market. It establishes who you are, and it establishes for the next guys that are the up and comers. When you look at the quarterback market, Daniel Jones had 45 million, and I was like, for me, Kadri Ismail, losing my mind, like, oh wow, Lamar's not going to get that. Like, oh man, he should absolutely. And then, of course, you saw the market kept resetting itself until Jalen Hurts came along, and Jalen Hurts set a market bar that was extremely high. And then Lamar's like, all right, give me a little bit more than that. You got yourself a deal. It takes two to tango. And if you got the money, you're going to be able to go ahead and tango. And I think that's what we saw with, obviously, free agency when it came to Lamar Jackson. But now, Tyler Linderbaum is just that from a free agent aspect of things. Tyler was like, yeah, okay, great. You give me this. Ravens, y'all can't do it. Oh, well, okay, loved you. Bring my box of purple gear and I will sift through it, or I'll have one of my family members sift through it, tell me what you like, what you don't like, what we're going to give away. We'll hang up a jersey somehow, some way when I retire, but I know this, I'm about to have some good generational wealth. No state income tax. I'm living large. Peace. I'm out. That's how the nature of the business is, and happy for Tyler Linderbaum. I'm sad for the flock. I wish we would have had an opportunity to see him stay. I wish we would have had an opportunity for he and Lamar to grow and potentially hoist up a Lombardi, but oh well, the king is dead. Long live the king. At least he didn't go to New York.
Oh yeah, plenty of others did go to New York. We'll get into that a little later in the show for sure. But Tyler Linderbaum is the name that everybody's talking about, and I was on social media and I said, no way he gets 25 million. He got 27 million. Calvinoy, he and I got into it before the signing happened. He agreed that it was going to be 25 million. I said, no way. He gets 27. Calvinoy definitely had his way. Go on social media and listen to Calvinoy go off about his boy getting 27 million. Definitely deserves. So he understood it. A lot of agents understood it. GMs understood it. I mean, I still cannot wrap my head around $27 million a year for a center, even a center as good as Tyler Linderbaum. I think it's a pretty sizable, difference in the skill set between Creed Humphrey and Tyler Linderbaum. So for Creed Humphrey to clearly be the better player and Tyler Huntley to still get $9 million over what he is currently at 18 million says a lot. Now, Kevin, if Tyler Linderbaum had the 27 million, but was signed by the Ravens, meaning the Ravens gave him $27 million, how would you have felt? Would you be happy, sad, indifferent to the fact that Tyler Linderbaum got that much money tied into the cap for the Ravens?
I mean, I'd be happy he was still on the team, but I still probably would have thought it was too much. I would have capped out at 25, 24. And, to me, this is a prime example of 80-20, 80% of the production for 20% of the price. And you can get a lot for 20% of 27 million per season. It's not like you're talking about 20 or 22 or any of that. You get that extra 5 million to work with. So again, it's not taking away the fact that Linderbaum is a great player and someone that the Ravens are going to miss. But I do think that there are options, and the way that it goes, it's kind of the same thing we were talking about with Maxx Crosby before we knew that his cap hit could be reduced to what I believe is going to be reduced to this season, where if you can have Linderbaum at 27 million, or you can have a center that maybe you give 10, 12 million to, maybe $9 million to, and then you use the rest of that 27 million, it's 9, and then you get a pass rusher for a certain amount, maybe a safety, maybe a corner, maybe another guard, maybe a wide receiver, some combination of those positions, maybe a running back with this Keaton Mitchell news I'm sure we'll get into. At that point, it's essentially the best player or the best haul of players that overall help your team in multiple positions. And, I just think that 27 per year is too much. And the Raiders were in position to do it. They had 119 million in cap space. They could afford to do it. It's a 3-year contract that also makes things difficult with the whole cap situation. So they get a guy for their rookie quarterback that, again, everyone's assuming it's Mendoza at number 1. So I think it's a good move for the Raiders. I think it's a good move for Linderbaum. And I think despite it hurting, it was the correct decision for the Ravens not to match that.
Okay, it's not about it's too much money. I understand the semantics of it all. I guess just the player in me is like, hey, get all you can get, but the salary cap keeps going up. Money is going to be there. It's what are you willing to pay? And yes, you perfectly said it, KO. All of the Raiders, not sure to say all, but the majority of this Raiders team is going to be a young team. And the biggest young player from a salary cap standpoint is the quarterback position. And it will be a rookie that will be on a rookie deal. So I wouldn't mind spending extra figuring out how to build up the team. Obviously, if you are doing it the Rams way, or if you're doing it Seattle way, and you're strategically getting some veterans, but you have a young team, you have a quarterback that is manageable, and you're just building in that regards, knock yourself out. I think that's something where I don't mind the 27 million. Just like I said, like when quarterbacks started jumping up into the 45 million range, I was like, oh my gosh. But from that point forward, now I'm like, it doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter with all the other positions either. If the dude can play and he can stop the onslaught of pressure coming into my quarterback, and he can get everybody lined up and make it life easier for my young quarterback, he's worth the money.
Yeah. I think that's a very good point, and it's something that fans and pundits need to like wrap their head around sometimes, myself included. That sometimes you get so caught up in the cap and in the numbers, and you're trying to say, well, this guy should get at least this much more just to set up the market. And at the end of the day, somebody's going to pay you. At the end of the day, the cap is going to go up. I mean, what? Joe Flacco got $20 million a year when he got his contract, and we thought, oh, that's huge for a guy that, has only been in the Pro Bowl a few times, and now Lamar's expecting $70 million in just, 10 plus years. So you make a great point. At the end of the day, we're going to be looking at this number like it's nothing in a couple of years. And at the same time, the Raiders have themselves a top tier center to, snap the ball for their, what we believe to be the rookie QB in Mendoza. So yeah, interesting thoughts on it. Again, now that the Ravens have to pivot, because again, we talked about how huge this would be if the Ravens lost Linderbaum, and now they have to kind of regroup here with the offensive line. All 3 slots of the offensive line, in my opinion, are in flux. What do you guys think is plan B? Q, I'll start with you. Is there a plan B? Is the draft where they go with plan B? Will you be disappointed with that? Or should they be looking at free agency to kind of heal the wound that is with the Tyler Linderbaum departure?
This is a tough one because I was hoping that obviously Tyler would come back. If you go with a rookie, the only thing there is, and I guess this will be on Dwayne Ledford, going with a rookie to say that you're going to come in, understand the complexities of our run scheme, understand the pass protection, be able to execute it all mentally and not flinch. Tyler, if I recall, he came in, did that, and worked out well for the team. But what does the draft look like? I don't know. So that's where I would think you would go to a center and free agency. And to KO's point, you're not looking at 27 million. You're looking at a more manageable figure for your team, and kind of move from there. But boy, I would say if you can, and Lord knows you got enough picks, if you can get a draftable high-level center, but then bring in a center via free agency, that would like ease my uneasiness, if you will, ease my angst of whether or not you're going to have a good, strong offensive line moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, like the plan that I was kind of putting out there and kind of was on my mind was that they were going to sign a vet, and then they were going to draft a guy to play next to Linderbaum. Like, that was what I thought. Now with Linderbaum out of the fold, I think that, yeah, you could go with one of these recently released guys. I think that's probably where you go. Again, you don't want to get too young on the O-line here. And you have Simpson, who's a veteran. We'll get to him. Stanley's a veteran. Rosengarten's been in the league for a couple of years. But, it was not that long ago that Lamar Jackson was getting the ball snapped over his head in Buffalo and all this different stuff about how the Ravens needed a center. They finally got their guy. The center is a huge part of the line. And to me, I would probably assume, look, I would love for them to sign one more guard, but I think that they might just kind of roll in with Simpson being their left guard. And then you can kind of compete it out with Emory Jones and the rest of those guys on that line. Center-wise, I think that it's a toss-up to me because I think Corey Bullock is a name a lot of people like, and I'd be fine with him winning the job if he wins the job, not if he's handed the job, right? You need to bring in competition. That's what we've been talking about here on the show, excuse me. So I think that, in my opinion, like, there are multiple paths they can go with here. But again, you need to reinvest that money somewhere, whether it's into the O-line or into another part of your team. You have, if it was $22 million, you have $22 million at your disposal now. Go out there and get somebody, maybe make a trade. I've seen a couple of people bring up Eric McCoy's name from the Saints in conversations about a trade potentially after they signed David Edwards and, that O-line situation. So, I'd be cool with an Eric McCoy, and he's on a very team-friendly contract. I think $10 million for each of the next 2 seasons in terms of base salary. So I would think that the Ravens try to bring in one more vet guy, whether it be via free agency or via trade. But I also think that they might just want to roll with what they have on the roster and just let the chips fall as they may.
That is probably going to be the case one way or another. We're certainly going to find out. Lots and lots of more stuff to get into after the show. You already mentioned it. The Ravens did make another move in free agency outside of Maxx Crosby, a new guard for the Ravens to use. And we'll talk about what that means to the team, as long as the other players outside of Tyler Linderbaum who have left the franchise via free agency. We'll get into that next here on the Locked On Ravens Squad Show. We live in a world where we can stream anything, order food in minutes, and carry supercomputers in our pockets. And somehow buying tickets to a live game still feels complicated. Hidden fees, jumping prices, endless steps. There has to be a better way. That's why I use the Gametime app. It gives fans the advantage and makes getting tickets simple, whether it's NFL games, concerts, comedy, whatever you are into. I jumped on the app to check out tickets for an upcoming game, and it honestly took me minutes. You can see panoramic views from every seat before you buy. The price you see included all fees, no surprises at checkout, which is very important. You can even spot zone deals where you pick the section, and Gametime picks the seat for extra savings. 2 taps, you have great seats locked in. Fast, easy, done. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Gametime today. We are back. Locked On Ravens Squad Show. Big day, free agency. Oh, man, I can't believe all the news that has come that are connected to the Baltimore Ravens. Did not expect that in the tampering period, but here we are on Monday, 2 days prior to the start of the new year officially in the NFL, and there have been plenty of moves regarding the Baltimore Ravens. Let's talk about the other move in free agency that is an addition for the Ravens. John Simpson back. He's a Baltimore Raven. Can you believe it? After he left to go to New York, he comes back and now is most likely, as Kevin pointed out, going to be at least competing for a starting spot on this offensive line. Now, after losing Tyler Linderbaum, it's kind of a more important position than ever to have somebody that is significantly good at that guard spot. I don't think we could have had Daniel Falele in there and lose Tyler Linderbaum and feel any way, type, shape, or form comfortable about the offensive line. But Simpson's a guy who, again, not perfect, not great, but adequate. 3 years, $30 million is $10 million per year. Kevin, after seeing the news on that, how do you feel about Simpson joining the Ravens once more?
Yeah, I think it's an okay move. It's not the best move I've ever seen the Ravens make, and it's not the worst move I've ever seen the Ravens make. Simpson is a high penalty guy. Hopefully he can bring those down a little bit. Obviously, he was playing in New York, and that was a tough situation on that offensive line. But even still, he's someone that has familiarity with Lamar Jackson, even playing next to Ronnie Stanley. That's familiarity as well. It wasn't the name on my bingo card. I was more so looking at a Wyatt Teller, Kevin Zeitler, kind of Joel Bitonio type of guys. the production that Simpson gave the Ravens when he was in Baltimore relative to his production that everybody thought, because he was on like his last legs when he signed with the Ravens. It was like futures contract. Can he fight for a spot? He gave insane value in production, and I thought he was fine in Baltimore. He wasn't the best offensive lineman, wasn't the worst offensive lineman. I think he's probably close to the same player he was the first time around here, coming back the second time around. But again, like, you just need upgrades, and hopefully him coming back, playing in an offense with like Declan Doyle's will help him out. He plays with a mean streak. He was very well liked in Baltimore as well in that locker room. So yeah, I mean, I think it's an okay move. It's not great, but it's not terrible too.
Well, you talk about depth, and you talk about, just this ability to make sure your team is not so top loaded. Obviously, with Tyler gone, it's top loaded in that you have some dudes up there, the likes of the Maxx Crosbys of the world, the Kyle Hamiltons of the world, somewhat Roquan Smith, but then you also clearly you have your star in Lamar Jackson. But yeah, I think this is one of those picks where it's like, all right, cool. Hey, we signed you. I think he'll do well. I think it is a piece that, depending upon how Ledford's scheme works out, it might be in a situation where he can really benefit for not only himself, but obviously for what the team needs and how it can, structure out for the Ravens moving forward.
It is an interesting thing because, again, I was looking for more athletic guy at guard, especially considering the type of offense that we've seen Declan Doyle run in the past. So it's going to be interesting to see. And I saw a comment on the chat that asked $10 million to compete, Luke K99 said. And there is some sense to that, but we don't know the parameters of the contract. We don't know if this is essentially a one-year deal yet. I haven't had a chance to look at the terms of the contract. So, again, the Ravens can't afford to let money dictate who starts. They have to go with who the best player is. The Ravens have a draft coming up. We all assume the Ravens are going to go top heavy with the offensive line. There's a lot of depth on interior offensive line in this draft, so you expect the Ravens to make a move in day 2. I think for interior offensive lineman, that would be my guess. But again, who knows with Eric DeCosta? You can see the best player available, and he actually goes for it. So who knows? But I think that's the plan here. I think to get another offensive lineman in here, really make this a competition would be huge. And John Simpson, I know he has some penalty issues. I know he wasn't the greatest at pass protection, but he was a mauler. He was everything that the Ravens wanted Daniel Filelli to be, but at least more athletic. I mean, again, he's not known to be athletic, but Daniel Filelli wasn't really a mauler either, and he wasn't athletic at all. So I'll take it for now. I just want some competition. I want this to be one of those things where the best 5 are out there, and it's not just, favoritism out there like we saw with John Harbaugh all those years ago. Let's speaking of John Harbaugh's kind of recreating the Baltimore Ravens in New York now. Lots of Ravens players are shifting gears from the purple and black to the blue and white or whatever those colors are over there. Isaiah Likely, first guy, contract, 3 years, up to $45 million, essentially a 3-year, $40 million contract with incentives. Mark Andrews signed a 3-year, $39 million contract in December. So in less than 3 months, pretty much the same contract. What are your thoughts about Isaiah Likely leaving the Ravens and joining the New York Giants, Q?
I mean, my goodness, I am not disappointed. I'm not hating on him. I think that it goes to show you when it comes to, again, upfront money, how much you getting paid. Tyler Linderbaum getting $81 million, but 60 of it is fully guaranteed. I mean, that to me that's a lot of money. That's the real deal. All the other total money, that's a bunch of fluff. So you can 27 million or 27 million average and all that. Average it out all you want. How much are you giving me in guaranteed money? Isaiah, I'm curious, as the contract will come out, what is or did they mention it as far as the total guarantee like he's getting up front?
I haven't seen those numbers
Yeah,
yet.
I didn't see anything yet.
Okay, so if they haven't done it yet, but I'm saying from meaning the Ravens gave Mark Andrews, those contracts on face value look very similar. So you would say, well, wait a minute, how come Isaiah just didn't accept that to begin with? I think for Isaiah, it'll be, I would bet dollar to donut that this is a heck of a lot more upfront that he is going to get than what Mark Andrews got. And so from a Ravens perspective, he probably felt slighted. Like, man, are you kidding me? Whereas John was like, look, I'm the GM now, even though I know I forget the female's name, but she is his go-to person as far as GM. Homeboy was like, yo, girl, let's go ahead and get this deal done with Isaiah. The Ravens, they got suckered into Mark Andrews. Well, Isaiah, and the thing is, Isaiah doesn't even need to worry about being a blocking tight end because they already got a blocking tight end. He could be that 11 personnel guy, and the beat continues for him and Jackson Dart. So I think Isaiah's in a good situation, a good spot for himself personally. Sad to see him go, but it'll be interesting to see what the upfront money is to compare between him and Mark Andrews.
Yeah, I'm curious, just how everything went down. I mean, obviously we know that before the season there were rumblings that they were trying to work on something and something was close. I don't know if Likely was asking for a bigger amount of money than this deal that he got from the Giants, and then the injury kind of brought his value down, and the year he had kind of brought his value down. I think it's interesting that it can go up to that, what is it, 47.5, right? That number. So it's something along those lines. So I think
47.
Yeah. So I think at the end of the day, when you look at it from like a base value, hey, Mark Andrews is getting 39.3 and Likely's getting 40 over the same amount of time. You're like, yeah, that's not great, especially when, for me personally, Likely was the guy that I wish they had chosen all along there. But, I'm curious to see how it all went down. And, I think that if you had told me the Ravens chose Andrews over Likely, my answer would have probably been, I'm sure Likely probably got a lot bigger of a deal than Andrews got. But, the reality is, unless those whatever incentives or playing time, whatever is hit, it's the same, essentially. And that definitely stings a little bit.
It sure does. All right, let's get into the weeds. We did have a little bit of a competition about who stays, who goes. Later on, we all agreed Isaiah Likely was going to be leaving. So let's get into the short and sweet of it. Some more Giants news. I think this is actually, I won't say breaking news, but this happened a little bit before the start of the show. Our Darius Washington, 1-year deal to the New York Giants. Another Raven, now a Harbaugh guy. We talked about how, John Harbaugh is going to have problems getting these Ravens. Everybody can stand John Harbaugh, but another player off the board heads to the Big Apple. Kevin, what are your thoughts about our Darius Washington? Your guy, by the way, no longer a Raven.
Yeah, that definitely sad about it. He's someone that I thought, despite all the injury issues he's had over the course of his time in Baltimore, whenever he was on the field, he made an impact. And, I don't think we know what the parameters of the deal are right now, but it doesn't surprise me. I mean, I feel like everybody understood that if it wasn't Baltimore, it was going to be the Giants. And he's someone that, has won that coaching staff over. Obviously, there are multiple people on that coaching staff from Baltimore in New York right now. So I'm not shocked by it. I wish he would have stayed in Baltimore. I don't know what this does for Alohi Gilman, and if they choose Gilman or if they go out and sign somebody else for that third safety spot. But I thought when Ardarius was asked to fill in, I mean, he was one of the reasons why that defense turned around last season. He filled in admirably. He was asked to come in and play a big role, and he did that. High energy guy, plays a lot bigger than his size and brings that passion. He's physical. So I think he's going to do a lot of cool things in New York. And I'm excited to see what he does, but definitely bummed that he's not going to be doing it with the Ravens anymore.
Whoa. So, does that mean that KO gets a bam L on the ledger?
Don't act like we all didn't get that wrong, but don't act like we all didn't get it wrong.
No. I didn't say he was coming back. I was pro Alohi Gilman.
Where?
Like on your list.
Oh, so okay. So yes,
Ardarius Washington, Q gone. Alohi Gilman.
Oh yeah. Stayed. Okay. All right. Fired. Yep. That's my. Yep. I see it now. It was Sam and I think we both said he was gonna stay, and then Q. Okay, and then yep. All right. Fine. You know what? Okay. All right. You win. You win. Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay.
Just, okay.
Yeah. All right. Take a sip. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I feel better now. See, and that's the thing, because usually when you have coaches that go to other places, you're going to bring in guys that know your system. They know who you are. You know who they are. And you need that voice in the locker room when things, not that they're going to go bad, but this is the National Football League and there are no fairy tales. There's always some level of drama. Therefore, yeah, a guy like Ardarius Washington, hey man, so what's up with Harbaugh? Why he tripping like that? Nah, bro, he's all right. I promise you, you'll see. Jordan Stout, he's a kicker, so or a punter rather. So basically, Jordan is not going to really be talking guys off the ledge if they're like, "Oh my God, what is up, man?" You need guys that know your system. Isaiah, bruh, or Darius, hey man, maybe we should go to Harbs and let him know this is what guys are thinking. So ultimately, it makes sense for Ardarius to go and fit into that system and really kind of reestablish himself, see if he can compete to take it to the next. And what is the next? The next is being a starter full time in a very tough and physical division. I think the Cowboys, I think the Eagles, the Commanders, they're gonna test him, and I think he's going to be more than up to the challenge of said test.
I'm wishing him all the best. Again, a favorite of mine, a favorite of Kevin, and yours as well, Q. So, going to be tough to see him go, but definitely getting an opportunity to start getting some new lease on life, if you will, another chance to show what he can do would be great for him in New York. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk more about players that have left the Ravens. One, as you just mentioned, has also gone to the New York Giants. We'll talk about that and more here next on the Locked On Ravens Squad Show. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you had to fill sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Sponsored Jobs. Indeed, Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of the show will get a $75 Sponsored Jobs credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com. Just go ahead to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is the job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. We're back here, Locked On Ravens Squad Show. Wow, what a day it has been in free agency. Make sure that you guys are on the lookout because I'm sure there'll be plenty more news upcoming involving the Baltimore Ravens. And make sure you're tuning in to this show and other shows on the Locked On Ravens Podcast Network as we get to talking about all things free agency right now. You can catch us Mondays and Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, talking Ravens football throughout the offseason, including moments like these in day one of free agency. You can also catch Kevin on the Locked On Ravens podcast twice a day, Mondays through Fridays, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., talking Ravens football nonstop. Not 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
That'd be crazy.
Knowing Kevin, he'll find a way to give you 12 hours of Ravens content, but at least don't get 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. shows on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. So be sure to like, subscribe on YouTube, and tune in wherever you get your podcast for Kevin on the Locked On Ravens podcast. Lots and lots more Ravens have left the building, guys, not just the ones you mentioned earlier. Jordan Stout, punter who came on strong, Pro Bowl campaign last year. He's a New York Giant. John Harbaugh loved him so much. He said, you know what? Come with me to New York. Crazy, crazy times. Did not think the Ravens would let him slip by his fingers, but he is now the highest paid punter in NFL history. Kevin, what are your thoughts about it? Jordan Stout, a Giant.
Yeah, I definitely am a little shocked by it, but when I kind of took a step back and thought about it, the Ravens did a lot of developing on Jordan Stout, right? It was the first couple of years for Jordan Stout were rough. He got it together a little bit in year 3. We saw the potential. And then obviously last year was his breakout. He was incredible. He won them games last season. But if I'm John Harbaugh, I'm saying, yeah, I did that development. I want him with me. He's coming over with me to New York. And so I understand that. I thought, yes, the Ravens were going to keep him because, again, you don't want to just go through that cycle again with a young punter. I think now you have to bring in a vet. I know the Giants released their punter. Tommy Townsend's available, who was in Houston. So, there are options for you. But I mean, man, Jordan was so good for them last season in so many different ways. And it's a big loss. He was one of the guys that, like, after Linderbaum, I was like, there aren't really a ton of other guys that I really, really want back. But Jordan Stout was one of them. And so, of course, the special teams guy gets his special teams guy, and he reunites with Chris Horton over there as well. Maybe that had something to do with it. So, yeah, definitely disappointing to see Stout go. Was not what I was expecting at all.
Yeah, it's interesting because typically punters, you just kind of take them for granted. Sam Cook clearly was the goat of goats when it came to the art of punting here in Baltimore, and revolutionized the punt with the different styles of punts that he kind of did. And obviously his Iron Man abilities to sustain and just always show up. His ability to have the fake punt and throw the football down the football field accurately. I think he had like a perfect passer rating or whatever at one point. And here comes Jordan Stout. And as KO just eloquently mentioned, yeah, it took him a minute to develop. But once he got his footing, it was like, all right, bet this is what I need to do to be a successful punter. Here's how I'm going to go about doing it. And man, I mean, the snap, punt, plus the coverage, plus the downing it inside the 20 last year was just phenomenal. I mean, they had some critical moments where they needed to have great punts, and he delivered. And so that is going to be hard to miss. I absolutely hope and pray that they will get somebody to do something close to what Jordan did. But kudos for him for getting paid. That is, hey, tip of the cap on that.
100%. I'm very happy for Stout. It's going to be hard to replace him because not only was he a punter, but he was a holder as well. And him, along with Nick Moore and Tyler Loop, created this, what is it, the tripod of trust that it was a while back. So it's going to be tough for the Ravens to move on from him. But again, as Kevin mentioned, they develop punters, and he was one of them. It took him a little while to get accustomed to it, but what a year he had this past season. And now he goes on to New York with a shiny new contract, and hope that he gets the support he needs over there in New York, and we wish him all the best. That's the last Giant that has been signed that was a former Raven. We expect some others to come. I think maybe Pat Ricard could be a guy. Daniel Falele, we'll see. Harbaugh guy, who knows? But right now, we just assume that for now the Giants are done. Who else?
Tylan Wallace.
Oh, Tylan Wallace. Is he gone yet? I'm seeing weird reports about him moving, but nothing yet. But Tylan Wallace is the guy. He's the guy.
Yeah, nothing yet. I just think that bigger picture wise, like that is a Harbaugh type of guy. Although Eric DeCosta certainly was gushing over him as far as some of the plays that he made, but then you also saw, late last year where I guess Tez not finally got his act together, but Tez had some games where he was inactive, and then they put him in, and the odd man out was Tylan Wallace. So that's where I'm saying that he would be a ideal John Harbaugh guy and be a Giant. So that's all I'm saying, my speculative nature.
Nice. Yeah, I would not be surprised at all. It just fits. Just makes perfect sense. I'm actually concerned what's taking him so long to get it done. He does seem like a future Harbaugh guy. Giant. We'll see what happens with that. Another Raven that has left the building, Draymond Jones, leaves. He goes to the Patriots. Big time contract. Not the $20 million that some may have speculated, but definitely a nice piece of change for him. He was very versatile for this team. I thought that if he was being brought back, I'm sure Jesse Minden would have found a use for him both on the edge and the interior to pair him along with Travis Jones and perhaps Nanda Madubuike, but he goes on to the Patriots. Kevin, what are your thoughts about Draymond Jones leaving?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I was expecting after the Maxx Crosby trade, which I know we're going to get into. It's a pretty big deal. But again, the Ravens didn't have any need to pay Draymond $13 million a season. I mean, I think he earned that money, and it's great for Draymond. I think that he was awesome as a Raven, and I tweeted out that moment from the Cincy game of him doing the crying to the Bengals after the Burrow hit, and he retweeted that. So I feel like he still loves that moment. I still love that moment. So it's a good moment for the Ravens. But he came in, provided some juice, and provided, a lot of energy and swagger to a defense that was really lacking identity for a while. And, honestly, unfortunately, still even with him kind of carried that. But I thought he brought some of that back. I thought he was a spark for them. And I think earned himself money both with what he did in Tennessee and in Baltimore. I think New England's getting a good player, but with Crosby being in Baltimore, there was much less of a need to pay Draymond $13 million. Apparently, the reports are that Baltimore did try to get him back, but ultimately the New England deal was too much for him to pass up, and he goes to a team that just made the Super Bowl. So happy for Draymond, and hopefully he plays well there.
I really like Draymond Jones. All right, well, it's over. So anyway, hey, that's free agency, and good for you, bro. I mean, seriously, like, go ahead and yeah, Eric did his thing, tried to bolster up a defensive pass rush and got him. I thought that he came in and the whole crying thing and all that, but we were crying when Pittsburgh was just sitting back, just slinging a rock once Kyle Hamilton went down, and you had a chance to go get him, the 40-year-old, and Aaron Rodgers, and you couldn't do it. So now you'll go ahead and try to get, I don't know who the Jets going to have, but you can try, I guess, to get Josh Allen. That's going to be something. And potentially, Malik Willis.
Mm-hmm.
Malik Willis. You can get Malik Willis. How about that, brother? You're going to be earning that money. Go ahead, bro. Get you some.
I mean, you're right. I mean, when Kyle Hamilton went down, we knew that this defense was not going to respond, and Draymond Jones was a part of that. He didn't really make the waves that we'd expect the top-tier pass rusher to get. Of course, the Ravens solved that problem. We'll get into the later part of the show, but you're right. Draymond Jones was not one of the guys, even though he provided a spark, didn't provide the impact. Only 2 sacks during this time in Baltimore after the trade was made with Tennessee. Hopefully he has success in New England, but I definitely understand not wanting to put that kind of money on the guy who didn't have type of impact, the type of impact you'd expect from a premier pass rusher. The Ravens didn't lose this player, but he is available now. Keaton Mitchell did not receive a tender, and now he is available to sign with any team, including the Ravens. Let's not forget that. But Keaton Mitchell, a fan favorite, known for his speed and his explosiveness, definitely a good pairing with Justice Hill, and Derrick Henry is now free to sign anywhere. Q, why do you think the Ravens didn't want to tender Keaton Mitchell? Do you think it was due to just the contract in general, or do you think they're moving on to find somebody better?
Yeah, boy, that's a tough one for me because obviously Keaton is a fan favorite. Clearly the Seahawks game. There was like a string of games, but in particular the Seahawks game where he just took a little inside run, dipped it to the outside, and went down the sideline. And it was like, wow, just incredible speed. It was unfortunate that, in the 49ers game where you could see where they thought, okay, we can give him some high volume production. And he had a devastating knee injury that ruptured multiple ligaments. The comeback was interesting because while he came back, Eric and them were talking about being cautious with him. They did. But then when he seemed to be cleared and fully back, running 5-6 miles an hour and all the things, it was like a mixed bag as far as what they wanted to do or not do with him. But then when last year he was inactive, you're like, but I thought he was back. I thought you guys were saying that he was ready. He had a really strong training camp that was kind of odd that he goes into the season and they, didn't really vibe with him. You had Justice Hill before Justice Hill went down with his injury, and I guess that brought him back. But Rasheen Ali, I mean, special teams wise, I guess they felt like he was more valuable than Keaton and put him in there. But it just was like a kind of an interesting story to be told when it came to Keaton Mitchell and his role, or non-role on the team. Again, I thought from an explosive standpoint, you want explosive players. I thought that this was a great opportunity to have a kind of change of pace, home run threat, if you will, paired up with Derrick Henry. And yeah, is it the end of it? No. It's just the way the optics of it all looks. It could be potentially, not use the word potentially, the end of it. That's where I'm like, hey, gee, what's up with that?
Yeah, this one is interesting. I don't know. I genuinely don't. Again, he's not gone yet, but I mean, I assume with a move like this, that's usually what that means. I mean, it's not over till it's over. But yeah, whether it is the pass protection stuff, or they didn't want to pay the tender money and feel like they can get him back at a cheaper contract, or they just want to move in a different direction. I mean, yeah, that is the reality. Is like some guys are just old coaching staff guys, and other guys, when new coaching staff comes in, they just don't want him on the team. So yeah, maybe that is just what happened here. It's definitely disappointing because I think Keaton can play a major role in whatever offense he's in. And I think in Baltimore, he's a really nice compliment to Derrick Henry, and that three-headed monster, honestly, of Derrick, Justice, and Keaton, I thought really could have done some damage in a Declan Doyle system. So again, not all is lost yet. There's still a chance, I guess. But yeah, usually when something like this happens, it means that they don't want him on the team anymore. So we'll see.
We shall see for sure. I mean, it's hard to be a sub back and not pass protect well. I mean, when you got Derrick Henry, who's not known to be a great pass protector, coming in, and you want to spell for him and passing downs, you need a guy that can catch the ball and that can pass protect. And you got Justice Hill, who's known to be a good pass protector. But if you want to get on the field and you're not on the field when Derrick Henry's on the field, obviously, I feel like you need to be able to do that. And Keaton Mitchell hasn't been known to do that. That's not to say that he's not a great back, and I think he's going to have a market. I'd be surprised if he doesn't sign for a decent contract somewhere, just because averaging 7 yards a rush is a commodity that teams will be looking for. But I see the vision with the Ravens, and unfortunately for Keaton Mitchell, he may be the odd man out. But somebody came in, somebody huge, somebody that we haven't talked about much on this show, which tells you how big the free agency period is. But the Ravens made a trade for a guy by the name of Maxx Crosby. They paid a pretty penny for him, but I think he may be worth it. We'll talk about it here next on the Locked On Ravens Squad Show. We are back, the Locked On Ravens Squad Show, here in the free agency Monday tampering period here on the Locked On Ravens Network. We are talking Ravens football here. Again, we're available twice a week, Mondays and Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. Be sure to tune in. We're available throughout the year, not just during the regular season and postseason, off season, as well as we trudge along towards the draft and the beginning of the 2026 season. You can also catch Kevin on the Locked On Ravens podcast twice a day, Mondays through Friday at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. He has lots and lots of news, lots of stuff to talk about here with the free agency. So there'll be no shortage of content for Kevin to work with here. So make sure you tune in, you like, you subscribe to the show on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast, and look out for Kevin's work there. The Ravens made a trade, and I thought when the trade happened that we'd be talking about this all show long. But because of the free agency period, that wasn't the case. But this is the biggest trade in the history of the franchise by a mile. The Ravens trade Maxx Crosby to the Ravens, giving up 2 first-round draft picks, 2026 number 14 pick, and a 2027 pick. Of course, that actual selection will be determined based on the outcome of the 2026 campaign. But that is a huge amount of draft capital to put on one player. But when you're Maxx Crosby, you're worth every penny, or I guess every pick, if you will. I'm sure that's what EDC is thinking. What are your thoughts? I'll start with you, Kevin, about what went down. Maxx Crosby, a Raven to get their pass rusher finally. We talked about it on the last show that A.J. Brown or Maxx Crosby could be on the move to Baltimore. Turns out the guy is Maxx Crosby, and now he's a Raven.
Yeah, still I'm kind of trying to get through my shock. I mean, even today, it's still, I'm not sure it's fully sunk in yet that Maxx Crosby is or is going to be a Raven. I was on my way home from dinner with about 10 minutes left in the drive, and got a notification, and I was like, man, all right, like, this isn't real, is it? Oh no, oh, it's real, and here we go. So, and again, I had a suit on, I got the tie on and everything. I had no time, and everyone's like, well, Kev threw the suit on for this one, and I'm like, I guess it fits the occasion, because This is the biggest move the Ravens have made in franchise history. It is so far out of left field from what this team does, but you know that they have to love a guy to do this. And Maxx Crosby fits the Ravens, and it makes it a lot easier. Again, that once you figure out the Lamar stuff and the cap situation, you get them on the books, you can lower that cap hit down and make it a super, super manageable for you in 2026. And the contract itself is a steal. I'm not sure if there's going to be any reworking or renegotiating on that contract, but he's someone that is a beast, both as a pass rusher and as a run blocker or run blower upper, I guess, a run stuffer, where he ends up blowing up the run blocks. Now he's not blocking. Like, put up a fullback for a play with Derrick Henry. Let's see what happens. Maxx Crosby out there paving a way for Mr. Derrick Henry on the field. But yeah, I think that, he's a guy that just fits everything. I mean, he wants to win. He wants to win more than anything. And you could tell in his comments that he was disappointed that he couldn't get it done with the Raiders, felt like he let them down, and has a very deep connection to the Raiders and the Las Vegas franchise. But he's someone that is all in on Baltimore, as he said. He's going to help out young guys. You could see the response that his Raiders teammates gave when the news happened, all the posts and the thank yous that were given out there. He's someone that has such a quick first step on some of these plays. You can play him inside or outside. He has versatility in that regard. And now he's on a defense where he doesn't have to be the guy anymore. Like, he still can be, but now you're on a defense with Kyle Hamilton and maybe now Madubuike if he comes back, and guys like Nate Wiggins, and maybe Roquan Smith and Marlon Humphrey have resurgent seasons. And so it's not just like, okay, time to load up on Maxx Crosby and whatever happens with the rest of these guys. Now it's, if you load up on Crosby, you're putting guys like Travis Jones in one-on-ones, maybe Madubuike, guys like Mike Green, and those guys can win. And so if you decide to double team Maxx Crosby and put a ton of attention over there, all right, now these other guys are going to go make plays. But if you decide to throw attention over there to those guys, well, now you're leaving Maxx Crosby, and that's a bad decision. So I think it fits in really well. We know how bad the Ravens pass rush was, and honestly, with some of these contracts that are being handed out right now, I mean, Jalen Phillips, I know that's your guy, Q. He got $30 million over there from Carolina. You're getting Odafe Owe with the payday, 25 per year from Washington. That Crosby deal is looking like a steal when you're talking about the actual money value of it. Yes, you know what? 2 first-round picks is a lot to give up. The Ravens are the only team willing to give up 2 first-round picks. But in my opinion, you do have to take risks in order to win Super Bowls. And I think it's a risk, but I think it's one where you're getting a really good player, an elite player, and that's something the Ravens have not had at that position for a long, long time. And now the Bengals are in the Ravens' shoes now, where now the Bengals are the guys that don't have that guy. For years, it was the Ravens. Now with Trey Hendrickson going who knows where. Now the Ravens have Crosby, the Browns have Garrett, and the Steelers have TJ Watt. Now it's Joe Burrow who has to deal with what Lamar was dealing with these past handful of years, all these good edge rushers, and you not have one.
Well, Z Moore, 8278. Bruh, I hear you. After the Crosby signing, I was like, Eric will be now referred to as Eric. He is not EDC yet. He is not ED, pause. But we are going to just say Eric. Simply Eric. Okay? Eric did his job. Got the elite pass rusher that we were looking for. So Eric will be referred to with a respectful Eric rather than Eric. So once we lost all those free agents, especially Isaiah Likely, when we didn't even know the deal with him and Andrews about a similar, and you probably should have just given him a little bit more extra ducats over to the side, be like, bro, we're going to slide you some more. There you go. Stay with us. Declan Doyle's offense about to blow you up. Pow, pow, pow. You didn't do that. So I'm torn. Do we stay with Eric? You signed Maxx Crosby, bruh. Did your thing. Or are we back to Irk? Because we ain't going to say E, D, and C because you haven't earned it. The draft is like still ongoing speculation about the board. We're going to do the board thing, or we're going to do the board. Hey, we're just going to look at the board and look at the board only. Look at the board. You went away from your looking at the board, and you got Maxx Crosby, Eric. Okay, good for you, Eric. But we got some people leaving out the door. Your punter, who is all pro, homeboy. Eric, what you doing? What are we talking about here? Irk. Like, why? Why do we need that? Thank God Daniel Falele is not in the mix. Because we would have just been back to square one and we'd have called you Irk for the rest of the doggone calendar year. Okay? Your boy from the Jets will give you grace on that. Maxx is going to be coming up in there. He's going to be holding that defense accountable, hard worker. Boom. Saw him last year in 2 training camp weeks plus preseason, and I promise you, dude has a motor. Strong leadership, the whole 9 yards, great teammate, all that. Guys love him. But we'll get some help and some depth. Irk, you're going to have to, step up. So, Eric, great job. Excellent job by you, Eric, on hooking him up, getting him to be like what the 14th pick is pretty substantial because you can get some good players at 14. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. But mother of pearl, we got some depth that we got to look at, and that's next level. That's where you might get ED lowercase c. Okay, lowercase, not uppercase, lowercase. We'll see. We don't know yet, but for right now, Eric, great job, Eric, on getting Maxx Crosby. That's going to be fun on Wednesday when it's official. Right now, we still maybe sort of kind of, you still got some deals to do. Irk. Great job, Eric. Irk. You better go ahead and continue on, bro. We got to see it. Q rant over.
Love the Q rant. Can't get enough of him. But you're right. Yeah. He has a lot of work to do. And giving them those 2 first-round draft picks, especially after losing a guy like Tyler Linderbaum and the overemphasis now needing to be on the interior offensive line. Are you a little nervous? I'll start with you, Kevin, since Q just had his rant about the possibility of losing. Well, not possibility, because you lost it. The first-round draft pick is gone, and now you lose a chance at kind of fixing a position of need with the top-tier draft prospect.
I mean, yeah, you're not going to be able to get the level of talent that would have been there at 14. But honestly, and this is something I had said on the Instant Reaction show, and it's something I'm going to stand by here, is that my bold prediction is that the Ravens end night 1 of the draft with a pick. I think that they're going to trade back into the first round. They still have 10 draft picks. And if there's a guy that, is maybe in the teens is where he was maybe supposed to go, but he's falling into the mid-20s, maybe late 20s. Maybe Art DeCosta uses that, especially if it's an offensive lineman, is an opportunity to move up into the late 20s or maybe early 30s. You can trade away that 45. You can maybe trade away maybe a 2027 third, or maybe you get a little crazy and trade away that 2027 second. We saw that with the Philly deal with Lamar. You traded both those seconds to go up and get him. If there's a guy that falls into that category, you could still do that. Now, if they don't do that, there are still other options available that you could take at 45. No, it's not going to be a Venga Ioane or one of those guys that is, they're going to be top 14 or top 15 or whatever it may be. But I still think that there are enough talented players you could take in the second round. I'm just not sure that guy's going to be an instant impact day 1 type of starter, where if you're looking for that right guard spot, let's just say Simpson starts at left guard, which, I mean, they paid him $10 million, so I'm going to assume that's the case. If it's the right guard and you take a right guard in the second round at 45, I assume that guy's going to be thrown into a competition with Emory Jones, with maybe a Voorhees. I don't know if they're going to switch him or not. I feel like Voorhees is just the backup left guard now. But, any of those other guys, that's a possibility. But I just want to see how the rest of even just this next week plays out. Like, obviously, the Ravens have lost a lot of guys. They've only signed John Simpson at this point, but there's still a lot of this week left to go. And if the Ravens only signing at the end of this week is John Simpson, then we can have a conversation about that. But I still think that there are going to be some other moves up the Ravens sleeves here. I'm not sure it's going to be like 7 different signings, but I think that there are going to be a couple of them that maybe we can look at this a little differently, maybe the draft process a little differently, and just see how it all unfolds.
We hope. We pray. There's more to be done. Eric, great job. Great job, Eric. Irk, Bruh. What are we doing? Depth. We need depth. That's all I'm going to say.
Ravens need depth. You're right. They need somebody, well, multiple bodies to come in here because the Ravens lost a lot of pieces. We talked about Isaiah Likely, gone. I mean, punter, gone. Center, gone. Pass rusher, gone. So the Ravens didn't bring in Maxx Crosby to replace Draymond Jones. They brought him in here to kind of increase the level of productivity in the pass rush game. They need another pass rusher. They need some bodies in the interior of the defense and offensive line. The work's not done. It is only day one. I know a lot of Ravens fans are nervous, but Eric DeCosta has to get to work. We can say trust the process, but we tried to trust the process last year. They didn't do anything to fix the situation. So now we just got to trust that Eric DeCosta learned his lesson. And that'll be something that hopefully Ravens fans can look forward to as we get through the rest of the free agency period before we get ready for the draft. That's going to do it for us here at the Locked On Ravens Squad Show. Again, I appreciate you guys for tuning in for day one of the free agency extravaganza. We'll be back on Wednesday talking some more Ravens football, some more free agency news. I'm sure the Ravens signing will continue. Maybe a couple more players to go on to other teams. We'll talk about that as well. But we do appreciate you guys so much for joining us, tuning in today. We'll be back at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday. So for myself, Kevin, and Q, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you on Wednesday.